Sand Monkey, thank you very much indeed for talking to us here at Al Jazeera. Staying in Egypt, Al Jazeera has received pictures which appear to show protesters being shot. This report by Alan Fisher contains violent images which some people may find disturbing.
This is central Cairo on Wednesday night. After a day of running battles between pro and anti-Mubarak supporters, the two sides face off again on a bridge near Liberation Square. Gunshots can be clearly heard. Rocks and petrol bombs are thrown. As the shots continue, people seem unmoved, but as they get closer and more sustained, they begin to duck. The camera finds a man laid out on the ground, his friends trying to lift him. A hand goes up, almost pleading for time for the shooting to stop. But more shots ring out, and two more people fall to the ground. If we watch in slow motion, at the bottom of the screen, there are bright flashes where it appears the bullets hit the metal rail of the bridge. These people are anti-government protesters. They claim the shots came from the army. Al Jazeera has no way of confirming their allegations. As those on the bridge run, trying to get a safe distance away, others drag those who fell from the scene. This video has now emerged on YouTube. It's dated 28th of January, when there were protests in Alexandria. As this man approaches what appears to be police, a single shot is fired. We have no way of knowing if the man survived. The Egyptian authorities say 11 people have been killed in the unrest across the country. The United Nations says it's more than 300. Alan Fisher, Al Jazeera.
Now, it's estimated Egypt has lost over $3 billion since the unrest began, but that pales in comparison to President Mubarak's family fortune, believed to be about $70 billion. Paul Brennan takes a look now at some of the Mubarak family's business connection.
Gamal Mubarak's exclusive London address on a street where the houses cost more than $8 million each. As one of the few known examples of the Mubarak family wealth, this property has been the focus of protesters' anger. But this impressive home is undoubtedly just a hint at the enormous wealth that the Mubarak family and their associates have accumulated over 30 years in power. As well as owning numerous prime locations in Egypt, the president is reported to have substantial properties in Manhattan, London and Beverly Hills. But his trusted political allies have also benefited. Opposition groups in Egypt accuse the ruling NDP of operating a cartel when it comes to lucrative business deals. It's alleged the most lucrative contracts are handed out to a select and exclusive group of politically connected businessmen.
You find a lot of businessmen are actually ministers in Mubarak government. Mohammed Rashid, he's a minister of trade, for example. Others also, they got prominent position in the government. So they control the governments and they control also the business sector.
For evidence of the close links between politics and business in Egypt, look no further than disgraced tycoon Hisham Talat Mustafa. His father's company, the Talat Mustafa Group, built the San Stefano Grand Plaza in Alexandria and major developments in Sharm el-Sheikh. Hisham himself became a billionaire through various construction and property deals. And until his conviction for murder in 2009, Hisham was also a leading figure in Mubarak's National Democratic Party and a member of the Shura Council, Egypt's upper legislative house. And the company's links to Mubarak's National Democratic Party remain strong. TMG's current chairman is Hisham's brother Tarek, and he also happens to be chairman of the Egyptian Parliament's Housing Committee. The development company Palm Hills is another which seems to have benefited from close political allegiance. It has seen extraordinary growth and huge profits in the last 4 years. The chief executive is Yassin Mansour, the brother of a former government minister. Another executive is related to Ahmed Al-Maghrabi, a former government tourism minister. According to the group Transparency International, Egypt ranks a lowly 98th in the world when it comes to tackling domestic public sector corruption. The boardrooms of the country's top companies certainly suggest that, in Egypt at least, it pays to be connected. Paul Brennan, Al Jazeera, London.
Well, you're watching Al Jazeera, bringing you all the angles from events as they unfold in Egypt, including where some residents are still going about their daily routines. We'll find out what Egypt's elite think of the ongoing crisis. More on that. Stay with us.
Hello again. For many of us in Brazil, it's still very wet at the moment. On the satellite picture, you can see all the showers, plenty of them, gradually making their way down towards the southeast. But also we've seen the wet weather begin to pep up a bit further west now as well. Peru's looking pretty wet currently, and it's going to stay very wet there as we head through the next couple of days. That rain will also be pushing its way a bit further south, I think, as we head through Monday. So for the northern parts of Argentina, it's also going to be rather wet here. For Buenos Aires, though, here we should get away with a dry day, but it's actually going to be a bit fresher than it has been, only topping at around 24 degrees, which is 75 Fahrenheit. Now, across towards the southern parts of Africa, plenty of heavy downpours here, as we've seen over the past few days. Those in the west of South Africa, though, do appear to be drying up a little bit, but those in the east of South Africa are just going to get going. So this area will be very, very wet for Monday. In fact, there is the risk of seeing some flooding here. Now, talking of flooding, we've already seen the floods return for us in Sri Lanka, and the wet weather will continue for Monday. No change here. Further north, for most of us across India, it's largely fine and dry until you head to the far north. That's where the cloud, rain and snow is. Now, here in Doha, things are going to get a bit fresher over the next few days. 21 degrees during the day and dropping down to around 13 during the night.
A popular uprising that shook the country to its core. A defiant president under siege from his people. As the protesters took charge of the streets, we look back at the events that are changing Egypt.
I will stay on the air if I can until the police come
In a special program, Al Jazeera gives you a day-by-day account from those that witnessed them firsthand. Egypt burning on Al Jazeera.
Welcome back. A quick reminder of the top story here on Al Jazeera. Pro-democracy protests in Egypt have entered a 14th day. Demonstrators have been camping out in Cairo's Liberation Square. We're getting reports that security forces are trying to squeeze the protesters into a smaller area. Well, let's run through how things stand at the moment. Egypt's Vice President Omar Suleiman has met members of the opposition, including the banned Muslim Brotherhood, and he's agreed to set up a committee to consider constitutional reform, allowing more candidates to run for president with fixed terms. But speaking earlier on Sunday, US President Barack Obama has said that while Egypt needs change, the Islamist Muslim Brotherhood does not represent a majority of Egyptians. Well, Egypt's wealthier residents are growing concerned about instability in the country. Al Jazeera's Jackie Rowland went to find out how they've been affected.
Welcome to the Jazeera Club, an oasis of calm amid the turmoil of Egyptian politics. Just a few long strokes from the demonstrations on Tahrir Square, you can have a round of golf and catch up with your well-heeled friends. If it weren't for the military helicopter hovering overhead, you could almost forget that the army is on the streets. The members of this club have prospered during the years of Hosni Mubarak, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they support him. In fact, we found the same debates and disagreements on the terraces and the tennis courts here as you find on the streets around Tahrir Square. This is the elite of Cairo society, bankers and businessmen, critics of the president and die-hard supporters. But what they all share is a fear of instability.
We are pro-Mubarak because he gave us stability and he gave us peace during his government. And we are for him, definitely.
He's a brave man. He is a father of all of us. He is not a crazy man. He's a good man. I love him.
He don't understand that everyone around him is corrupted. He don't understand that. And if he understands that and he didn't change it, he is corrupted. Otherwise, he is the best president we can get.
I would like him to leave without leaving a chaos behind him. That's what I want. So if they can reach a formula which can do that, I think it will be much better.
These are the people who drive Egypt's economy, who generate much of its wealth. As long as